Okay, let's talk a little bit about literal equations and see if we can better understand what to do with those. So here's just a regular two-step equation. If we are going to solve this equation, our goal is to get x by itself because it's the only variable. We want to isolate the variable. That means I have to get rid of the 3 and the minus 5 in order to do it. So if I take a look at what's happening to x, well, what's happening to x right now is the first thing I'm doing is I am multiplying by 3. And then once I had that answer, if I use my order of operations, then I would subtract 5, and then the result should be equal to 10. Well, in order to solve, we have to do the opposite. Okay, we have to get rid of the minus 5 first, and then the times 3. So to get rid of minus 5, we do the inverse, which is add 5. So that's how I would get rid of that one. That's how I would start by doing that. I'm left still with the 3x, but those disappear, and that equals 15. So I got rid of the minus 5 by adding 5. That was the first thing that I did. And now I've got to get rid of multiplying by 3 to the inverse would be to divide by 3. So that's the second step that I would do. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I end up with x equals 5. And this is just a regular two-step equation. Well, literal equations aren't any different other than maybe there's a lack of numbers. Okay, so if I come down here and I look at this problem, I want to solve for y. Okay, so what's happening to y? Well, if I use my order of operations, the first thing I would do is I would multiply y by 4. And then the second thing I would do is I have this extra 2x, so I would add 2x, and then my result should be equal to 12. Well, I need to do the opposite. So I need to get rid of adding 2x. So I need to do the inverse. I need to subtract 2x from both sides. Here's the thing about this. 2x minus 2x, those disappear, yes, and I'm left with 4y. But these can't combine because one of them has an x and one doesn't. So I could either put 12 minus 2x, but in algebra, there's a better, we usually put the x's first, so I'm going to just list those first. So I have negative 2x and a positive 12. And I know it's negative 2 because this minus goes with the 2. And I know it's plus 12 because this is a positive number. Okay, so I got rid of the plus 2x by subtracting 2x first. That was my first step. Now I've got to get rid of multiplying by 4 by dividing by 4. That's my second step in this case. So I'm going to divide by 4. And really, I'm dividing all parts by 4. So those would cancel out. I'd be left with y. Well, negative 2 over 4, because remember, I'm dividing both parts by 4. Negative 2 over 4 is a fraction of negative 1/2, and then we still have the x there. And then plus 3, because 12 divided by 4 equals 3. So this would be my answer. Okay, so that is my literal equation where I have solved for y. Let's do 2 more examples. I want to solve for p. So what is happening to p? Well, it's in parentheses there, so the first thing that we're doing is we're dividing by y. Okay, and then once we had that answer, we were multiplying by 20. So I need to get rid of those by doing the opposite. What's the opposite of multiplying by 20? Well, the inverse would be to divide by 20. So when I divide by 20 here and divide by 20 here, those cancel out. That's the reason we do that. Multiplying by 20, dividing by 20, they cancel out. So I'm left with m over 20, or m divided by 20, equals p divided by y. So the first step that I got rid of was the multiplying by 20, and we did that by dividing by 20. So the next step is dividing by y. Well, the opposite of that, the inverse of that, would be to multiply by y. That would be my second step. So when I multiply by y here, the reason we do that is so that they would cancel. And then I'm going to multiply by y here. here's where we got to be careful. When we multiply and we have a fraction, multiplication goes on top. So I'm going to have ym all over 20. And that equals p. So this would be solving for p. This is what it would have to look like. All right, one more. So here's my equation. I want to solve for a. So what's happening to a? In fact, I would suggest you pause and try this one and then see if we get the same answer. Okay, so I'm solving for a. What is happening to a? Well, a is in parentheses, so the first thing that's happening to it is we are adding b. Once we have that answer, we're multiplying it by 2. So remember, we've got to do the opposite. So the first thing I have to get rid of is the multiplying by 2, so I'm going to do the inverse of dividing by 2. That's my first step. So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. So that those cancel, and I'm left with a plus b equals c over 2. So the next thing I have to get rid of is this plus b. And notice I got rid of parentheses because now it really doesn't matter. I just have the a plus b. So to get rid of the plus b, I have to subtract b. That would be my second step. So I'm going to subtract b. I'm going to subtract b. So those are going to cancel out. We're left with a on this side equals. Now these I can't put together. One is a fraction, so I can't even stick part of it as part of the fraction. I'm going to leave it as c over 2, which is my fraction, and then minus b. And that is my answer. Okay, so hopefully this helps. If not, we can set up something else, and we can go from there. All right, thanks.